The introduction of GMF. What is GMF? GMF is genetically modified food, which is GMF, are made from organisms whose genes have been changed to include qualities that were not selected for naturally. Introducing a gene from another organism requires altering the genetic code of a fruit, vegetable, or animal. Foods are made from creatures whose genetic material DNA has been altered in a way that does not occur normally, such as through the transfer of a gene from another organism, are referred to as genetically modified food. Future genetically modified food (GMF) may be intended to change the nutrient in food, lessen its allergenic potential, or boost the effectiveness of food production.
So I will continue to the advantages of genetically modified foods, GMF. Firstly, food availability becomes dependable. The food supply also gets predictable as agricultural yields grow more predictable. The second one is the nutritional value can be raised. Genetically modified organism, GMO, crops have additional benefits from genetic modification than only increased weather or insect resistance. For the lastly, advantages is genetically modified foods, GMF may last longer on the shelf. To keep food fresh while it is stored on a shelf without preservatives, genetically modified foods, GMF, by boosting the meal's inherent properties, making it possible to increase food life. For disadvantages of genetically modified food, GMF, firstly, genetically modified organism, GMO, crops may resist antibiotics. Any organisms that would be harmed by a prescription antibiotic have developed an immunity to it since the foods contain trace levels of the antibiotic when ingested, which can make an infection more challenging to treat. The second one, farmers growing genetically modified foods, GMF, have a bigger legal responsibility. Farmers who are not even involved in cultivating these foods are liable to a higher amount of legal risk because many of the crops and seeds that generate GMO crops are patented. For the lastly, genus vary among plant species. Fields where crops are grown are also home to weeds. There are non-instances of genetic migration.
The importance of GMF. Firstly is prepare for extreme weather and increase the crop of yield. Plants that have undergone genetic engineering can withstand harsh conditions. Food crops that have undergone genetic modification can occasionally be grown in regions with unfavorable climatic circumstances. Genetically engineered foods frequently have better quality and yield. These foods typically develop more swiftly than those that are grown in the traditional manner, and additionally, using genetically modified crops could help you avoid drought and have better soil. For instance, genetic engineering can increase crop yields, which will increase production of the desired crops. Scientists can also develop pest-resistant crops, assisting local farmers in better coping with environmental issues that could completely wipe out crop seasons. Okay, next is production of pharmaceutical. The use of genetically engineered species such as potato, tomato, and spinach is used to produce compounds that prompt the immune system to fight off particular disease. The genes encoding for viral or bacterial antigens could be genetically transcribed and translated into plant cells with the use of recombinant DNA technology. The transgenic organisms are typically used as oral vaccines, allowing the active ingredients to target the alimentary canal and stimulate an immune response at the mucosal surface. Rice, maize, and soybeans have all been utilized extensively in the manufacturing of vaccines using this method. Last of the importance of genetically modified food is improvement of nutrition. Genetic engineering can be used to increase a crop's content in a certain nutrient. This method, also referred to as nutritional enhancement, has been the subject of extensive research. Foods are carefully inspected to acquire certain properties that become useful, such as concentrated quantities of nutraceuticals and compounds that promote health, making them a desirable component of a diverse diet. Then, golden rice, whose genome was transformed by the infusion of the vitamin A gene from a daffodil plant, conditioning provitamin A synthesis, is one of the famous successes of genetic manipulation. As a result, there is an increase in the activity of phyton synthase, which result in the synthesis of more beta-carotene. The level of iron and its bioavailability are then modified and improved.
The problem in GMF. Firstly, GMF may have long-term negative health effects on human human consumption, such as allergic reactions and antibiotic resistance. This is because some of the uh, genetically organism develop a novel protein that may be an allergy as a result of the genetic material being transferred from one organism to another. The amount of the natural occurring allergen in food increase as a result of the usage of the genetically engineering foods. And secondly, is the genetic modifications of plants and animals might affect the natural order, which could be harmful to the environment. The demise of the native plants in wild being caused by the transmissions of the genes from certain genetically modified plants to native plants and other crops. That this is may cause the extinctions of some native plants and also some of the animals in the nature. And lastly is the risk of the GMF are not recognized by the researchers, and they may cause the health pandemics among peoples that consumes the genetically modified foods uh, for the long terms. And next is how we, the consumers, identify genetically modified foods or GMF in the market. Firstly, GMF can be identified for by using our sense. The difference of the looks, flavors, aroma, and textures may uh, can be used to know that the food is genetically modified or not. But some of the foods in the industries have the genetically modified food in the industries may have same as the natural or common fruits and vegetables and shapes but of the looks, flavors, aromas, and textures. The consumers also can look up for the PLU codes. By these codes may be can be used to identify food that have undergone genetically modified or augmentations. The meals was prepared normally if the number has 4 digits and there are chances that the food have been genetically altered. But the second is the GM if if the PLU code is more than 5 digits, numbers start with an 8. That may the foods is may have genetically modified. Halal and GMF. Genetically modified foods or GMF are not considered haram unless they are made using DNA from sources that are obviously haram, such as pigs and dogs, which is not stated very explicitly in the halal certifications. There is currently no fatwa or religious edicts on GMF that can be clearly utilized as a guideline to answer um, the GMF are haram or not or halal to for Muslim consumptions in the market.
So, in conclusion, we have discovered that most individuals are typically unaware of genetically modified foods. Study on GMOs generally seems to be lacking, and the research that has been done so far does not indicate a good future for our planet if the usage continues at the current rate. As previously said, GMOs have a severe impact on many facets of life, not just from a health standpoint but also from an economic one. So that's all for our group. Thank you.